Hi, good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. I am Ada Bobineau, the founder and director of the San Antonio Black International Film Festival. And we are so honored to have a wonderful film narrative that played at our festival in 2024. We brought it back for Black History Month. And we wanted to present not only just the film here locally in San Antonio, but we wanted to also present to you the creators behind the film. And so I want to bring to the stage the director, producer, activist, professor, Courtney Baker Oliver,
Hi
to your
there.
right, and Dre Strong, cinematographer, editor, just man that made it look good. So we thank you for watching locally VEILS, and we want you to go to Restoration. Is it Restoration Films, Restoration Project?
It's restorationstage.org is our website.
And
And I
that's where
think,
we go.
yes, I think you can also get there at Restoration Stage Films as well, but restorationstage.org is the easy way.
Because that will give you everything about it for those that didn't see the film locally. For those virtually, that will give you all the information about the film, and possible rentals and bookings and all of that can be arranged through the website. So we'll put that up again toward the end. But
Thank you, Ada.
welcome, gentlemen. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
It was such an honor to have you all come to San Antonio and to present VEILS. And we wanted to have the chance to get it to a wider audience. And just we like to also talk to the creatives of all the films that we bring back monthly. So I wanted to know, so VEILS was initially in play form, performed in a theater. So what resonated in you, Courtney, to want to make this into a movie, a narrative?
You know, you're going to laugh when I tell you this, but in all honesty, it wasn't so much that the play resonated to me and I thought, oh, let's make this into a film. What happened was that VEILS went up for the first time in Los Angeles the day that the world shut down for COVID. And, you know, I had the entire cast and crew had come from DC to LA. We'd rented the fabulous Nate Holden Performing Arts Center in Los Angeles, our executive producer did. And, you know, we had rehearsed very hard. We were all very excited. And then we got shut down literally by the city on our opening day, which was catastrophic in my mind. But I said to our executive producer, well, can we at least film it? And she said, I'll see what I can do. And within a couple of hours, she had a team of 3 cameras in, and we were doing the performance. We had an audience of about 50 people because that's what the city said we could have, social distance at the time. And one of the actresses, the actress who was playing Merle Evers, flubbed the line. And when she flubbed the line, I knew that we did not have a paying audience. I knew I had the cameras. I was trying to capture it for posterity. And so I said, stop, cut, or we're going to go back and do it again. And it was in that moment for me, as a guy who's been doing live theater for, you know, more years than I want to acknowledge, you know, for 30 years almost, I've been doing live theater. The power of being able to shape even a mistake in that way it was eye-opening for me. And I think that was the moment where I had the seed that, oh, I should explore this more because there is even more power in being able to shape the world that you try to create on stage in film.
So we had to go back then because you and Stephen A. Butler Jr. had your hands in actually writing this production and putting out. So how did you get Sandra Mager Evers from Black Hollywood Education Resource Center involved in the project? Like, how did you all combine to even start with the play? How did that work?
You know, it's so interesting. We've been doing our work. I've had my head down, working hard, unsupported, spending every dollar that we made at our regular jobs to make live theater in this city for 19 years as Restoration Stage.
Washington, D.C., everybody. It's Washington.
We are the premier Black-owned and operated professional theater company in the DMV and have been for a number of years. How we met Sandra, who is, you know, more than an executive producer to me at this point, because for the last 10 years now almost, she has been one of my dearest friends. I mean, she's amazing. But as you know, she came from the corporate space. She was interviewing someone who she asked in the interview what they had done the weekend before. She asked them in an interview on a Monday morning. We didn't know her. The response was, I saw this amazing play, yada, yada, yada. They go on about the play, and being who she is, interested in artists who are out there doing their work. She had someone reach out to us. I'd never heard of her. And she called and invited Stephen and I to dinner. And the rest of it is history. And I mean, we clicked. I would want to know Sandra if she had no interest in the work that we do. She really is a wonderful human. But she found us. We were delighted to meet her. We started talking. We started sharing with her the work that we were doing, and she wanted to know how she could support it. I mean, that really is the story. And it's, we've cultivated our relationship. I mean, it's reciprocal. She's amazing. But we're grateful. I realized that all artists don't get the opportunity. We wouldn't have been able to make this film without her, for sure. I would tell other folks, keep doing your work, because the resources that you need will find you. I mean, if you're focused on, if you're working, and that's what we were doing.
That's encouraging, because I know you work with students at Duke Ellington School of Arts in Washington, D.C. Speaking of which, you seem to muster up your students and involve them in the project. So how did you see or feel, because you're coming from theater, so you didn't really dabble in film. So how did you pull Andre into the fold to direct your first feature film? And Andre, you can tell your memory of how he brought you, but I want to hear his first.
First of all, I have known Andre for over 25 years, since he was my student. He's older than me now, but I will tell you, I've known him for a long time. He says that he always knew we were going to work together. I adored him as a student. He was such a brilliant mind. He was his own person. We've stayed in touch. He came to see the live show. He came to see VEILS in person in LA and was super complimentary. And when I got the opportunity to make a film, I mean, I didn't call anyone else. I knew right away that this is the opportunity for Dre and I to do our thing. This is a way for us to figure it out. And it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's that phone call. And Dre, you can speak about your own memories of it, but that's how I feel.
No. I mean, you pretty much said it. I'll say this though. While at Duke Ellington, like once you leave and you go out and once you move forward from Duke Ellington, there's not many people that stick to the craft and stick to the art of being creative and still making projects, whether it be theater or whether it be film. So the people that actually do continue on the path, on the artistic path, you can't help but notice. You can't help but stick to and gravitate to. So Duke Ellington being a very like tight-knit community, especially when we were there, like
a family.
It was a much smaller school, very, very tight-knit, and you stay in touch with the people, so you see their grind, you see them working. And I just saw them for years, just on their end. And when I say them, I mean Courtney and Steven. And as well as on my end, that you see the people that have been, committed to the craft for decades and decades. You know what I mean? So you can't help but appreciate and show love for that. And the moment that you actually get to work together and create something dope as VEILS, you just like, I'm with it.
But Andre, so because I know Duke Ellington, there's not a big film concentration there. So you had to have been that over an extra person that went over and above to be a filmmaker.
What he may not tell you, and there is a film program at Ellington now. There was not a film program at Ellington when Andre was a student. There was some videographer kind of stuff going on. There's a film program there now. I can't think. I want to say it's one of the big companies has just built them a very beautiful studio.
Wow.
But Andre will probably not tell you this, but he is a brilliant actor. He was an acting student at Duke Ellington and is wonderful. And that is one of his many, many talents.
Hmm. Well, why won't you tell me that, Andre? No, I'm just messing with you. What I really loved about the film is I thought that you all took risk. You all took risks in how you shot it. The bringing on the AI and interjecting that, infusing that with the theater and this. I mean, how did that come about to even go that direction? Because I haven't seen any other film that has the way you all incorporated using AI, the images with the live theater. I mean, and then the cinematography was just beautiful. How did that come about to that style?
I'll say the AI came together in the most organic way as possible. You know what I mean? Like we didn't really go into the project thinking, you know, we're going to use AI for this part, we're going to use AI for that part, but this is the true vision of like a bunch of creative minds coming together and continuously being like, how can we make this better? What can we do to take this to the next level? And we were really able to do that. So it's like, as we were just on our journey and on our way, we're like, let's do this. Let's add this in. You know what I mean? So it came together like just perfectly synchronized.
I will add that Andre
can you speak to that the AI thing and how that worked? How do you do that? Go ahead, Courtney.
Andre told me going into this shoot that there are 3 films. When you make it a film, it's 3 films. It's the film you write, the film you shoot, and then the film you edit. And, you know, it stuck with me because after, you know, he had organized a series of shots that were beautiful and had scheduled us that we got this done in record time. And it was because of his experience and the planning that we did going in that made it possible. But still, we emerged with things that we didn't shoot, that we did not have the resources for whatever reason. We didn't get some of the stuff that we wanted. And I think that part of it was my naivete to say, well, why can't we, you know, because we did use some of the backgrounds in the film were artificially created, were artificially generated, but that was the extent to which we were planning to use AI going into the project. But as we discovered there were things that we didn't shoot or that we weren't able to shoot that we would have liked to reshoot, I said, well, why can't we try to make AI for that? And, you know,
and I was like, yo, you can do whatever you want because this is your film.
And he encouraged me to think, because I'm telling you, it was my naivete, it was my not knowing that gave me that childlike ability to just ask silly questions or try to do crazy things that the answer was never no. He's absolutely right when he says that it developed organically, because we did not go into this shoot knowing at all that there would be AI images used in the film. We did not know that.
So did you have somebody researching while you were shooting? I mean, like, or did you have to do all that in editing? Like, oh, we need this here, we need this here, we need this here. Or was there someone that was constantly researching the trying to figure out what you needed in order to place things for post?
The film.
I'm trying to figure out how you did it.
Andre, Stephen, and I made it was us, because Stephen helped to make it. Stephen and I both made images. I mean, we all eventually learned how to make images, but we would identify what we thought was missing, and you know, we tried some things, and one person might not like it, the other person might like it, and you know, we didn't win. This is, for me, the work that we all put in means that everyone had a vote in what the ultimate outcome of every shot is. And so we would go through. We created probably 50,000 AI images, and that could be an understatement. About 50,000 AI images for this project. They were created first as still images. Then you have to regenerate them as moving images. It was tedious. We spent many nights, many days, for many months going through this process not knowing what the outcome was going to look like. But
also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
you
you off.
go. Please, no.
So, I wanted to add to this that though I've been on my filmmaking journey for years, this AI was something that just hit the market. So none of us like knew, you know what I mean? Like AI was it was vastly changing in the moment that we were adding this to our film. So none of us really knew the best way or you know, none of us were professionals on how to use it. It was new to everyone in the industry. So us diving into it, it was like a learning process while creating.
And I will say to you, Ada, you asked about how it's so well woven together. And I think, you know, that goes to Andre's eye. I mean, certainly I wanted to be always to be classy and was thinking in terms of coloration and wanting things to match and all of that. But it's Andre's. Okay. So he says, okay, the shot that we need is of this, but this needs to be the angle, and these are the colors. And you know, I'm saying, well, I had the edict that I wanted to make sure that when we were talking about Trayvon Martin, it was always very clear that we were in South Florida. I'm from South Florida, so you see there's lots of palm trees and things that you know.
Court was like, that don't look like Florida.
Right. You know, we wanted to be historically accurate. We wanted to make sure that in every one of these stories, you know, because there are vignettes in the piece, and every one of these stories that we seek to tell, that we are true to them. That, you know, I hate to watch a movie where I'm supposed to be in 1967 and I see a car from the 80s drive by. You know,
or a costume, out of place,
right. But you know, to me, I noticed those things, and I wanted to make something. I wanted to make sure that we made something, and you know, he is even more of a taskmaster, I would say, than me. He's a perfectionist. That we wanted it to be right. You know, that was the main thrust. Is that, you know, if we're going to do this, if it's going to take just to get one image that we're going to use in this part, if it means generating 300 images, and I mean 300 individual images that you're going through every single one of them to find the thing that might be wrong in it, or you know, which maybe just the best one. We committed ourselves to doing that. It was a lot of work. I mean, in hindsight, I can say I don't even know if I would have gone into making this if I had understood how difficult it really was going to be, because you know that. I won't be shy about the fact that it was a lot of hard work and lots of hours. It was tedious to get it to look effortless in the way that it does, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know, coming from a theater background, it is a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother level of everything. And bringing the actors in who were all used to the play in the theater, what, as a director, did you have to do differently with them in the production of shooting the film? What had to be different for you? And even from the cinematographer's point of view, because you're capturing not just from an audience point of view, just getting them on stage, like you said, you got to do the different angles and changes, the lighting, and what was that like for you with the actors acting?
I understood that it was more intimate, and I think that because of the themes in this piece, it's a musical, but it's not really presentational. Yes, there's a civil rights section where we do those songs. That is to be a moment to breathe from the grief that we collectively experience. I would have to tell, as an aside, I would have to tell the live audiences, they would come to intermission, and you know, Yumi Ya would be singing Sabrina her song, trying to comfort her on the journey, which is how we ended the first act of the play. And it's in the middle of the movie as well. But audiences wouldn't clap. You know, they would finish and there would be this fantastic singing and the audience would be silent. And I would have to come and give a curtain speech to say, we understand. This is heavy. This is a collective shared grief experience and an acknowledgement of what we have collectively been through as a people. And that doesn't make you want to clap. We understand. But in the silence that we sit, we understand that this is us. This is our shared experience. I think that the same kind of thing was true for the actors who, in order to tell the story of Fannie Lee Cheney and the death of her son, you have to be inside yourself, inside that story, inside those small details. So yeah, it's a different medium, but if you're true enough to those stories and those characters, yeah, I think it succeeds in much the same way, to be perfectly honest with you.
So you all didn't have to, Andre, you pretty much had to get them on the first take. You all, because of the emotions, did they have to do things over and over again to get different angles?
Well,
or I'm just wondering.
We didn't have much time to do multiple takes, so that was also the blessing of working with stage actors in this. And though there's a lot of people that have they're very like some directors and cinematographers can be terrified working with stage actors who have never worked in the film industry before, and you feel like you might need multiple takes. But these ladies, they were hitting it, like they were hitting their performances quick, because also they come from the stage, so they were like used to it being just live audiences and them not having another chance to just be like, you know what, okay, hold on, let's stop. Okay, we're gonna do this over again. Like, it was none of that. So they had to deliver. And I'm sorry.
I was going to say, what I learned from Mike Malone, the founder of the Duke Ellington School. I was his assistant for many years. I love Mike. I mean, people know. Wow. I worked as his assistant for 15 years on all of his shows, and he was like a dad to me. I mean, he was certainly my artistic father, but the person who shaped me as an artist, really. One of the people is rehearsal. I believe anyone who has worked for Restoration Stage will tell you, I believe in rehearsal. So, and I say that because I want it to be so in your body that when the audience comes in or when the camera light goes on, it almost doesn't matter to you, because what you're being true to is the character that you've built, the experience of that character, and communicating who that character is in the world of the play or in the world of the film. If you're doing that, then you're doing your job. You can kind of tune out some of that, some of the other stuff that goes on, if you know what your responsibility is, what your job is. When Roz White takes the stage as Sabrina Fulton, I will tell you that every moment that she's in that character, she's thinking, how can I make people understand Sabrina's experience? That's what how can we make sure that Trayvon's legacy is preserved in the way that we show his mother's grief, that we understand that, yeah, this was a body that we saw on the ground in photographs that were shown on television like it was nothing. That was somebody's child. And if I can get the actors to connect on that level, and they all do, we tell the story of Virgil Ware, who we learned about on our research. We were at the Civil Rights Museum in Birmingham doing some research about the four little girls, and we come across this small little corner that talks about Virgil Ware, the boy who was killed the same day. I'm like, I know a lot about the Civil Rights Movement. I've been talking about it for years. I did not know that. And so the work was then to try to find out who Lorena, his mother, was, and what her experience at that time was like, and trying to bring to everyone's real understanding the trauma of not only losing your child, but we publicized the four girls that were killed on the same day, and Virgil, nobody even knows his name. If you can, and Bernie Alston, who plays Lorena Ware, all she had to do was understand that, and the rest of it we shape in rehearsal. But you're signing up to that kind of commitment, that your job is to make sure that people understand Lorena's experience. The rest of it, we're trained. We went to college for this. They're actors. They're not novices. And I think that's
they're definitely not. I mean, just watching it for the first time when we were judging it, it really like pulls you in. It really the story pulls you in, but the talent and just the overpowering of the emotion that they bring to the characters. The actors have just and the actresses were really amazing.
They were brilliant. They
Yeah.
brought so much. I have a no complaining rule. If you go complain about it being hard work, I'm the wrong person to work with. So the people that you see out there are the people who understand that and work so hard. And people have got to see just the if only for their performances. Brilliant workers.
Well, it's the performances, but it's also the script. It's also the music. For you and Steven to have written the brilliant songs that bring it together. I mean, how long did it take y'all to do that? The songs, the script. I mean,
you will laugh because I went into this process not thinking about a score. Like literally, like we were singing songs. The civil rights songs were always in, and when we started doing this piece, there were not all those original songs. I mean, it's really my cousin Christopher John Burnett, and I have been writing songs together for most of our shows for years. During the pandemic, this was after the show had gone up in LA. During the pandemic, Chris and I started writing the songs that you hear, like Willing to Die and To Know His Works and all those songs. We started writing them for the show because we wanted to elevate it. We wanted it to be all original music. We started that during the pandemic. We taught those songs. We learned and recorded all of that music before we shot. But I still didn't know we were going to do a score. That wasn't even on my mind. While we were editing, we were editing music. I was working with Dre all night, basically, and working with the music department. Justin Thompson, our musical director, and my cousin Chris, who wrote the songs with me. We were working on music, that's all live instruments, all the band folks, all of that was occurring during the day while I was working on the edit with Dre at night and writing songs. The song that I sing a song in the film, which was not planned at all, but during the funeral for the 4 little girls, that song, Cynthia, Carol, Denise, and Addie, was something that came to me while we were doing the AI for that song. Came to me in the middle of the night. I recorded it real quick, played it for the music department with in mind that we were going to teach it to someone to, sing the song. And, they thought that it should go like it was. And that's what's in the film, but organic, because we understand that it is our job to protect our history. It is our job to make sure that someone knows that when Trayvon Martin was murdered, because he was holding Skittles and iced tea. That's it. And if you see that as your job, you'll be surprised where the inspiration will come from. Because I look at it came from everywhere, because it felt like it was my job. The same thing I tell the actors. It was my job to be as true as possible to these stories, not to me.
God, there are so many takeaways from the messages in the film. I mean, you can touch on mental health, on activism, just history. What do you? I want from both of your perspectives, the director and the center DP and the editor. What do you want audiences to walk away with, or what has your experience been viewing audiences walking away with the film after seeing the film? What do you want them to walk away with? What is a message that you want them to?
We're living history. I would say that we're living history. History is occurring right now. I think there are direct correlations between what happened to Trayvon Martin and what happened to Emmett Till. And I don't know how we can be any more clear. I mean, the first scene is Sabrina, but Sabrina meeting Mamie Till. Because what two women would have more to talk about than those two women? For me, the takeaway is, if you come to this film, and if I don't know how many stories there are, but if there are 12 stories in the film, and you knew 2 of them, then you're not doing your job to make sure that our history is being preserved. Because, you know, it shocks me to know that there are people, the Jeopardy, I recorded it off television, the Jeopardy question. No one on Jeopardy knew who Medgar Evers was.
Wow.
This, and I talked about this at the festival, you know, when we were in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
One of my girlfriends has a daughter who is now a sophomore at Howard, but she was a freshman at Howard last year when we were talking about this. I shared it with my classmate, friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Her daughter said to her, "Mommy, who's Trayvon Martin?" She shared it with her daughter. But her daughter is now 19, but at the time she was 18, which meant that she was 6 when Trayvon Martin was murdered. She doesn't know who he is. So while this administration tells us that it may soon be illegal to teach Black history, whose job is it then?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's, you know, whose job is it to make sure that we don't create a generation or generations of people who don't understand what has been sacrificed to get us here?
Right.
Yeah. And to add to that, people so easily forget our history, and if you don't know your history, you're bound to make the same exact mistakes.
Absolutely.
You're bound to fall into the exact same holes, and it's just going to repeat itself, you know? So somebody, like Court says, has to be the sounding board. Somebody has to be the reminder. Somebody has to be the face and show you, like, hey, this is where we were. This is how far we come. This is where we need to go. And this is where we can never go back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It feels like we in that back section right now.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Yeah.
in terms of, I mean, just in terms of just the vial that is circulating every freaking day. And that's where the artists, that's the importance of where the artists, what we need to do as artists to step up. And I think this play definitely does that. And I think that I'm wondering, because it's so unique, because it's a different approach, how has that been for you all trying to get into festivals, trying to get it seen, trying to get it distributed? How has that been? Honestly, because the people aren't used to newness.
Go ahead. You want to talk first?
I want to say that it has been an interesting journey with that. Even with some of our people being like
in positions,
you know, like in essence, feeling like it's too soon to speak on the Trayvon Martin situation, even though it's been 13 years.
And he's 30. You know, he would have been 30 this year.
Yeah, it's been 13 years that's passed, and people feel like it's too soon. Like, they'll allow you to tell a story about, like, Emmett Till, like Court just said. They don't mind a story like Emmett Till or, you know, a MLK, a Selma or anything, because they feel like it's so far removed from them. But a story like Trayvon Martin, some people are very it's like some people are almost scared to touch it, and you have to be brave in this world. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be brave. You have to be the people that are consistently reminding, like I said, not only our people, but you got to remind them that we ain't forgot.
I think the reason why they don't want to talk about that recent history, they don't want to be reminded of that recent history, is because it forces us to look at what has gone on in this country, what continues to go on in this country. In just 2 weeks, it will be the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And we spent a lot of time talking about Bloody Sunday, talking about Selma in the film and that famous march 60 years ago. And somehow 60 years later, they're going to tell us it's illegal to even talk about it in a public school that is financed in any part by the Department of Education. Now, that tells us two things, I think. That they recognize the power inherent in people knowing that story, knowing what, when we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, to say, oh, we're going to get rid of that in order to make things equal, is Is gaslighting, because obviously the reason why we needed diversity, equity, and inclusion is because in 1967, my grandmother, who helped raise me, I have my grandmother's papers. School year 1967. My grandmother had a master's degree. She went to FAMU before it was FAMU, when it was FAMC, Florida A&M College, in the 1930s. Wow. My grandmother in the 30s. The letter 1967 says, it breaks down, the teachers are coming back for the school year, all the things that are going to go on in the in-service for the 3 days or how many days it was for them planning for the school year. We're going to do these workshops. This is the lunch each day. All of this is broken down. At the end of the 3rd page, it says, colored teachers report to your respective schools. In 1967, Donald Trump was a grown man in 1967. And so it's recent history. But somehow, if we talk about it, it reminds them that we're not talking about 150 years ago. And even if we were, what happened 150 years ago was horrible too, and should still be talked about, like we talk about the Holocaust, as we should talk about the Holocaust. But the history being too recent, I think, is a cop-out certainly from their side, to be reminded that this is what it means to be a Black person in America, that you are under threat just because you're Black and in the place. That's it.
We can go further back to in the 1800s, 1900s, when your hand was cut off or something evil was done to you for just having a book, learning how to read. It's just mind-boggling to and there's just the juxtaposition of putting his old archaic ways into no history, no this and that, into an age where technology is so advanced. It's kind of
it can't work. It's not going to work. What they will try to do. I don't want to. I've been spending very little time talking about the president, because we have more work to do than ever. And I realized that this work would be seen as counter to the narrative that they want to project. I get it. It makes us firebrands or whatever you want to call us for doing that work. But who knows how long in an authoritarian society we will be allowed to do this kind of work. So artists got to go to work right now and make sure that we are doing our job, which is to tell our stories. It is the most important thing we can do. Civilizations leave behind art for us to. I'm a traveler. I love going all over the world is my thing. But you lived in Paris when I was 20 as a student, as a foreign exchange student, and I'd be walking down the streets and you would see the cornerstones on buildings that would be like 1312. You're like, huh? Oh, so this is the old, and we're as everything here is so new, but it gives you a different perspective. I spend lots of time in Turkey, for example, where things are very, very, very old, and I love Turkey. But it's against the law to speak negatively of the president in Turkey. And they seek to control. And that is why we are free to be artists and tell and honor our ancestors in this way. I think that there is no more important job, I think, that we could be doing right now, than to try to make sure that our history is preserved for the ages.
No, I agree. Your cat distracted me in the background. I was like, "What is that movie?"
That is Langston Mercer, name for Hughes. That is Langston. Is that Langston?
Oh my God!
Listen, he's my favorite.
So let me ask you this: so we know that this is 2025, and Trayvon Martin would have turned 30 on the 5th of February. He passed away. He was murdered on the 25th of February. So this film is a great resource for keeping his memory alive, and that's the main thing. But did his parents see what you all did with the play or with the film? Have they had any?
I've spoken about this so many times, and I guess I have a different answer now, because on his birth, I received a message from Sabrina, Miss Fulton, who I have a great deal of respect for, and the difficulty of the path that she was forced to walk. She didn't choose this. She would much prefer, I'm sure, to be mother to her live son, and we not know her name. I received a message from her thanking me for our beautiful work and a promise that we would talk soon. Maybe 10 days ago. After all this time of is tagging her and making sure that she knew, most of us are friends with her on social media and all of that. But I think it's been difficult. I think it's been hard. I've talked to family members, his cousin, through his dad. We went through their publicist. We've done all the right things we're supposed to do. And then on his birthday, I made a post using some of the AI images that we made, to which she responded, "Wow, this is beautiful. Thank you." And that to me makes me feel like I already won, to be honest, because it is. She said something about thank you for the love, or she could feel the love, or something like that. Yeah. It's all love. We wanted to be sure that we were respectful of the story, of the family, of their journey. And, it is a dream of mine to have both of his parents join us as we launch this piece, and, have them understand that the piece was created because when Trayvon Martin was killed, I was outraged. I was executive director of what is called Washington Youth Choir, which is this big choir Joyce Garrett founded in 1972. And I was doing this stuff for the choir. We had our spring concert. Trayvon had been killed in February. The spring concert was in April. I told Stephen when he was killed, I need something for the spring concert about Trayvon Martin. And he wrote a short piece, Stephen did, that was called Standing for Trayvon. That we inserted into my larger Black History show that I've been doing with students for years. And that's what eventually became VEILS.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, I applaud you on it. I think that this film, I'm hoping that you all can get an audience that it deserves. I mean, distribution wise.
I think that's going to happen, Ada, and I appreciate that. I think it's going to happen. We have interested distributors. It's coming, and I want to do it right. I want to do it right because I'm with you. I think that it deserves a wide release, and it was tricky to merge together this recent history with history that is more in the distant past, and to present it in a way that is especially digestible and appealing to younger people. I keep saying this, I've been saying this a lot. It is great that our Black excellence HBCU friends, that the links and the AKAs and everybody else, that they see it. That's great. Those people already know much of what we're talking about. It's some of those folks, like I said before, who don't know what has been sacrificed to get them here, that need to see it. So we made sure that, for example, the opening song MLK, which is set in Miami, it needed to sound like Miami bass in that song. It needed to sound like it's contemporary. It's for now. The music is an important element in making that. And I want young people. I want high schoolers. I want younger people.
Well, that's what I was seeing. I was seeing this being available to schools, and I don't know how that works, but I was seeing that it definitely needs to be available for students. Definitely.
Yeah. So, again, in the climate that we're in, I don't know how it works for schools, how it will work for schools in the future, but certainly there are independent schools. We're gonna find a way, I promise you, to make sure that Black kids know Black history. The post about this comments about the Secretary of Education about making Black history illegal infuriated me yesterday. And I mentioned this on one of the social media platforms, that when I was in elementary school, I had one Black teacher. When I was in middle school, I had two, a social studies teacher in the 6th grade and my music teacher in junior high. In high school, I had one Black teacher, by choir director. That's it for Black teachers period. There was never a Black history course taught to me the entire time I was growing up. However,
you ran to Howard University.
At home, no, at home and in my community.
Okay.
In my community, I'm from a place called Hopestown, Florida, and the Black part is called Banner Lake. In the Banner Lake community, there was a Black history program. There was an old woman, Miss Dolly Miller, who made sure you were going to learn your Paul Laurence Dunbar poems when you were 5 years old because you're Black. And it's important that you know who you are. We're going to continue to do that. And in that sense, I believe that VEILS will certainly have a life, but it's ready for a wide release. But we really are working on it. And, you know,
it will happen. It will happen. Let us know so we can help promote it. It will happen.
We definitely will.
So Dre, what your experience with this project, walking away with this project, how has it changed you? How has it made you grow? And just talk a little bit about your as the DP and the editor. Those are two major parts of a film. They really are.
Anytime that you are working on a project of this magnitude, is definitely going to help your creativity just grow. But there were stories here that I never knew. You know, like, there's so much new information that I learned through this process. You know what I mean? Like watching the play and then being a part of the production, and also just like seeing the commitment to all the other artists that are with it. It makes you feel like, you know, you are a part of something just so special, you know? So like, I just feel like this is something that not just, you know, I know when we say schools, we think of like elementary and middle school and high school, but even colleges need to be privy to, because it's so much information. Like Court was saying, like there's 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that they don't even know who Trayvon Martin is. And you know, we have to learn about the people that, you know, are on our who were on our side, who laid the path and the foundation for us. But beyond that, it gave me just a lot of knowledge of just more knowledge on the process of filmmaking, so we can continue to tell these stories, and we can continue to be a beacon for other filmmakers and just other people that are trying to maneuver through life and maneuver through this world, and like to let them know, like, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that want to get their story told. There's a lot of people that wish someone would tell their story, you know? So it was a privilege to be a part of this, and learning how to work with I like, me and Courtney, this is our first official like time working together. So like learning how to work with new directors and learning how to take actors that have only done theater and transition them to film. It's a process, you know, knowing how to say the right things to open up their mind and open up their artistic view to, you know, fit in the film world. It was a blessing. It was a privilege.
I was coming to an end, and then it just brought my mind. It's like, I wanted to know how, just production stuff, like how long it took, what type of budget you all had to work with. Can we just get a snippet of that before we close? Because that's important for people to see that and then know, oh, they shot this in 2 days, or you know what I mean? Like, how long did it take for y'all to shoot it? How long did it take for you to edit it? I know that Courtney, you were walking. I mean, Courtney, you were just a walking zombie, working in the day and working in the night, and so
I would say I don't know that I was a zombie, because Andre, from the very beginning of this, from the first, when we first had the conversation about him coming on board to do this, he prepared me so well. And I mean, little stuff like whatever happens on set, you can't get mad. If you get mad, then on our tight schedule, you get mad, we don't finish our movie. We don't get done what needs to get done. So whatever happens, whatever anyone does, you can't get mad. And so I went into it saying to myself, you can't get mad. It made the unbelievably short process possible that Dre had us so well organized going in. It was still a long shot, it was still, he was still saying, listen, this is what we try. I think we're going to be able to make this happen. I think if we get the Steadicam to come this day and do this and that, we get all this done at the same time. If we do it in this order, then it could maybe happen. But we had to be very disciplined. And the credit is for the ability to get this done in the time frame. And I know we still didn't tell you what the time frame was. I'm gonna let him tell you. The ability to get it done that quickly was because of the discipline that Andre imposed on the schedule.
So you didn't have a production manager? Andre, you did production management as well?
We did, but Dre was still in charge.
Okay.
I mean, okay. I feel like a lot of filmmakers underestimate the power of pre-production. They're so anxious. They're so anxious to just get in there and get the camera rolling, and we just got to do this and got to do that. And things really need to be planned out, like just down to every single shot, down to what equipment, how long that's going to take, what crew is needed for what days. Because when you're working with a tight budget, you need to be able to say, okay, like this steady camera operator, we can't afford him for all 3 days, so we're going to have to get him for half days on this day, and we need this person on this day, and we still were working with a skeleton crew. So it's like you have to be so meticulous just on the pre-production alone, and you have to plot out every single scene. Every shot, it is of importance, because it's like, do we have the time for that shot? Do we have the time to get this? And I had to make a shot list for like my dream shot list, and then I had to do like what was actually plausible. You know what I mean? So it was like, okay, I know we're working with this time, but if we can manage, I want to get this shot, boom, 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 boom. And but realistically, I know that we might be pushed back on this. And to start off the gate, we kind of we fell behind. I'm not gonna say why. I'll just say that to start off,
it was not one of us, is what I will say.
It was nothing to do with us. We were on point, Corey. But
wow,
we had a curveball thrown at us. I'm talking about first day, first shot. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh no, so you can't do that. Okay, so now what is the plan to maneuver around that? Like how are we going to circumvent that? And it's like you have to kind of, and that goes to pre-production, that goes to planning, that goes to your
skill set too, darling. That goes to your skill set and your ability to. You don't underestimate yourself, but that goes to your skill set.
I give hats off to Andre because I am notoriously, and Ada, you have probably come to understand some of this. I notoriously am not a meeting. I hate to have a meeting. I hate it. I hate a meeting. It's not my favorite thing. Dre's like, no, we met not only every day, but for hours at a time every day, because there could not be unknowns. Like literally. So on set, we weren't panicked on set. It didn't feel, I mean, there's the energy of trying to get it done, and yet things come up. But I went into it feeling very peaceful. I was excited, but feeling very peaceful because I knew how well prepared we were.
And pre-production was how long? A month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, a year?
No, it was like 3.5, almost 4 months.
Yeah, we started in March. I knew in March that we were going to do it. Thank God. Thank you, Sandra. I knew in March that we were going to get the financing in order to do it. And we shot the first week of June. So
Where?
that's
Where did you have to take the crew somewhere, the cast somewhere, put them up in hotels? Where did you shoot?
we shot in Nashville, Tennessee,
Why?
because there are a few more now, but at the time, and this we're talking about a year and a half ago, there were, I don't know if you are familiar with virtual production studios, but they're not that many of them. And at the time, the only one on the East Coast was this one in Nashville. And so we packed up our people and, we took a couple of trips down there, before we actually did the shoot. But to find everything that you would need to make a film happen, I had to find in Nashville. We got to go to the funeral home to find the caskets that we need for the 4 little girls. That needs to happen in Nashville. All of that. These are the things that I learned along the way about production, but I did not know going in that it was going to be that. But Nashville, because they were virtual production, which means that there is the walls with all the lights that you can project onto that can move. Yeah, and it's expensive, but there's one in Vegas. There's one in this particular company has one in Vegas, one in Nashville, and one in Florida. We went to the Nashville studio. They sourced much of the crew because some of the crew came with us. Our second cameraman, Brandon Jelks, who's brilliant, who works with Dre on lots of things, was with us. But a lot of the other people were from Nashville. And, it was so interesting. I'll add this as an aside. We're all Black. We all came as Black folks to Nashville to shoot this film about what had been done to Black people by white people. And the crew in Nashville was almost all white. And the experience that we shared together, the feelings that we shared together, the understandings that we came to together was amazing, because I cannot tell you enough that how hard they worked and how
they were actually amazing. Like
amazing. They look like us. I'm in touch with them still. They do not look like us, and they didn't know these stories either. That's how you change hearts and minds.
Life changing, and that's why it's not predicated just for Black people to see this, because everybody to see it, to learn from it.
That's right.
It's humanity. Yeah, it's humanity.
Ada, I should add, I talked about Bloody Sunday, and I want to get this in here because as we all know, Bloody Sunday, a week after Bloody Sunday in March of 1965 was the remarch where Viola Liuzzo, who was the only white woman killed for the cause of civil rights, 60 years ago, in a few weeks, will be the anniversary of Viola Liuzzo's death. I hope you asked about a takeaway. And by the way, her daughter, Penny, I'm friends with 2 of her daughters. She has living children who are in their 70s, obviously. Sally, the youngest, Sally may not be 70, but her oldest daughter, Penny, is very ill tonight and could use our prayers. And I'm going to say thank you for all your sacrifices, Penny. Thank you for your mom's sacrifice. But we talk about Viola having a choice, a decision to make. What will you fight for? What will you lose? Lay down your life for? What's bigger than you? This moment is much like the moment that Viola faced. You had to decide if you were going to be on the side of right, as Dr. King called it, or if you were going to go with the herd who thought that maybe white supremacy benefited them, and so they might fight for its preservation. White people need to see it because they understand, so that they will understand that it's their decision to make every single day. And they can choose to be on the right side of right, the right side of history. And so I'm with you. I think it's not just our people that should see this important film, but the kind of healing that we're going to need after what we're collectively living through. I think VEILS can help provide some of that, because it's not divided strictly on racial lines. You see Bull Connor in VEILS, but you also see Viola. You see Rita Schwerner, the widow of Mickey Schwerner. Mickey Schwerner was killed with his friend James Chaney in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And a Jewish man was also with them. I mean, let's be clear about it. They were examples of what cooperation, collective responsibility can look like if we can get the the hatred, the racism, the white supremacy, because we got to call a thing a thing. Too many of us are scared to call it what it is. Get that out to expose it for what that really is. And I just think I should at least mention Viola Liuzzo on the anniversary of her death.
We're gonna end with that because that is something to pander, being on the right side or being on the wrong side. Thank you, gentlemen. This has been such a pleasure. I could go on and on and on, but I want to just tell people who may have missed the movie here in San Antonio to go to your website.
Can we remind them, Andre received from your festival the award for best cinematographer. It was much deserved, and we're so
proud. Yes, it was.
Editor.
We were
editor.
Best editor, and then we had your actress as
Ross
best
White
actress.
won best actress. Yes, Ross White.
Yes. But you all, thank you so much. I encourage everyone to go to the website, find out more information, and I wish you all the best moving forward because this will be widely distributed to a wider audience. It will.
Ada, thank you so much for everything. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you all. Thank you. Y'all have a good one. We're out, Mean.
Power of the veil doesn't come from putting it on. It comes when you find the strength to lift it and take it off when the time is right.